Welcome back to another edition of All Chiefed Up. The Buffalo Bills took down the Kansas City Chiefs 24-20 on Sunday evening to win their Super Bowl this season. Mike, what's your initial reaction on this whole thing?
The sky is not falling. It's not the end of the world. We all knew it was coming. I pretty much predicted the score. I was one touchdown too much for each team, but I kind of thought it was going to play out like this. It seemed like in the end, Josh Allen and that Bills offense was a little too much for our beat up defense. We did pretty good for the majority of the game, but yeah, in the end, they got us. Our offense stalled out in some big drives. Mahomes made a couple really bad decisions today, and that seemed to be the difference. Okay, so a few observations for this game. Number one, we've already talked about us being shorthanded, but yeah, if you look at it, we were on a short week this week. We played Monday Night Football. We have a lot of injuries. We still had the Willie Gay suspension to deal with. Um, we were shorthanded. We come off a short week. Buffalo, on the other hand, they blew out Pittsburgh and they rested, I think, their starters in the fourth quarter. So they were well rested, and we were on a short week. Again, I don't think they outplayed us by very much.
No, I don't either. I'm not real worried about this game at all. Once again, you saw uh, really questionable, crappy calls at key points in the game. Somehow we got to get away from that. Like, I understand you can't blame games on the referees, but at what point do they stop making terrible calls that sway games? Because I honestly think that if Travis Kelsey, that play stands where he didn't, push off at all, that the Chiefs score on that drive, right? They're going to score. They got all the momentum. I think it was down to like the 15, 12-yard line, something like that. We're going to score. But instead we take three and then we lose by four. Um, I mean, yeah, maybe if the coaches hadn't called such crappy plays on the next time we had the ball. But I mean, it's just you can't keep calling things like this that sway games. Something's got to be done about it. So that's pretty annoying. But I don't think that the Chiefs played bad today with what they have. I think Patrick Mahomes had some rough patches, and I think that was the ultimate, you know, what made the decision.
Yeah, well, I will say Mahomes' decision in the first quarter to throw that interception that took away 3 points. Butker missed another field goal he should have made. I love Butker, and he's very consistent for the most part, but he struggles sometimes when that 30 to 45-yard range that you think he
Right.
should just be automatic
So,
with,
so
and
we
it
gave
just don't
away
happen.
we gave away 6 points right there, and then they took away a touchdown from us on a bad call against Creed Humphrey. So there's seven. We kicked three, so they took 4 points away from us there. They took 4 points away from us against Kelsey. So if you put in those 8 points and those 6 points, the Chiefs were looking a lot better than Buffalo today.
Yeah, I just don't think we played all that bad knowing that we were so shorthanded. This is supposed to be the best team in football, the Buffalo Bills. They're supposed to be the front runners, the Super Bowl favorites. That's what they've told us
Right.
all off season. And we played them shorthanded on a short week and didn't look that bad.
And they were playing like it was the Super Bowl. Like this was their Super Bowl. The only thing that they want to do is say that they're better than the Chiefs. And if that's beating them in a regular season, I think they were going to dunk their coach with a cooler, like some Gatorade or something, like they won the championship. And then Von Miller said something about doing backflips on the airplane. Like these guys are really treating this like this was the Super Bowl, and that's kind of sad and pathetic for them, but it is what it
Yeah,
is.
I mean, they said it was just another game, but that don't sound like it was just another game. It sounded like they really had a lot going in. I read that Stefan Diggs and them actually watched some part of a documentary about the Dream Team so they could be motivated for this. And oh my God, they were really treating it like I'm glad they won their Super Bowl here in October, but we're gonna shoot for our January, February Super Bowls. And I don't know, man.
Yeah, we're gonna win in February, so that's all that matters. So let's take a look at our top five keys that we had for beating Buffalo and see how that matched up with how this game played out. Mike, what was the first one?
The first one was to contain Josh Allen, contain his legs, contain him from getting out of the pocket, scrambling, getting rushing yards that way. We did that for the first three quarters. It wasn't too bad. I think Josh Allen on the day only ended up with 30 some odd rushing yards. Not bad. But in that final drive, we let him slip out of the pocket and get about 20 plus on one running play, set up that Dawson Knox touchdown. So, yeah, we did pretty good with that one. But when it counted, we did not hold.
Yeah, I think so too. He didn't really get a whole lot of rushing yards, but he was able to elude the sacks over and over again. We were in good position, had good pressure on him all night, but he just kept slipping away from it. And I don't know if that's anything we can really help, to be honest. So not too bad on that one. Let's just move on to the next key that we had, which was
Attack Buffalo's young secondary. Mahomes did that for the most part. We attacked the secondary pretty well. Again, Mahomes made a really bad decision, took 3 points off the board with that interception there in the first quarter. late in the game. That was a really weird play there on that final drive. It looks like Mahomes had the receiver coming across the middle, and he didn't want to take the throw, and then he pump fakes it and throws it when it was way too late. Just a bad decision. I'm sure Mahomes is going to call that out himself. We don't have to beat him up too bad about it. But yeah, it just seemed that we did attack them. So I will give them a positive check mark for that one. I think on the first one, I don't, I'll give us like a half. So I think we're like a 1.5 out of 2 right now.
Yeah, for the most part, I think Mahomes did just that. We had a pretty good game plan starting out. It was working really well. Juju got heavily involved. It looked really good. MVS even had a touchdown pass that was called back by a bad call on the referee, saying that Creed Humphrey was downfield illegally when he was maybe 2 yards from where the ball was snapped. Um, so yeah, it was pretty good. Now it did start slowing down a little bit in the second half when we started seeing some really bad play calling, which is probably the pivotal point in the game. I think it was about 6 minutes left. We just stopped Buffalo, got the ball back, and at that point, when they went 3-and-out after a series of terrible play calls, I think that's when everyone knew what was going to happen at the end of this game.
Yeah, we kind of thought Buffalo was going to get the ball, run the clock out. They actually left us more time than I think they really wanted to be honest. But it's hard to ask an offense to keep scoring with 12 seconds and 13 seconds and a minute. At some point it's going to stall, and it did.
Right. And our third key was establishing a power run game. Obviously, did not do that. We have not looked back to it since beating the brakes off of Tampa Bay with it. Because why do something that was successful? That's
Yeah.
just silly. So we went right back to the delayed handoffs and the RPOs, which do not work for our running backs. Clyde and Pacheco both need to be power runners. End of story. And that's not what's happening. The play calling is horrendous on running downs, and then a lot of the second down runs as well. And I mean, it just when you have to sit in the backfield and dance around for a good 2.5 seconds before the ball's handed off, you're done. It's
Yeah,
toast.
off the top of my head, I don't know which back it was. I don't know if it was McKinnon or if it was Clyde, but there was one play where we had Burton in, and they actually had a lead blocker there for Burton, and it was a little, counter play back to the left. They got 7 yards off of it with a lead blocker. Pacheco actually had a run up the left side late in the game. I think it may have been in the third quarter. He almost run somebody just completely over. He ran really hard. That was a very hit the hole kind of run that we should be doing. That was the only time in the second half they did it. We maybe got 2 carries there in the power run game is what I would consider powerful. 14 yards, 15 yards. The rest of the day we didn't do anything like that. It looked right back to the delayed, right back to that, the RPO, right back to not having a lead blocker at all. I think Burton never even seen the field again until they attempted that weird screen pass to Burton there, and that didn't make sense either. You're going to throw that. I think I throw it to McKinnon or Pacheco in that situation.
Right. So we also said on our fourth key that you had to avoid the big plays. And by saying that, you had to have a cushion with the safeties. You had to shield these young cornerbacks with safeties. Obviously, that didn't happen. And they let up two huge plays, 2 touchdowns, one to Diggs, one to Gabe Davis. Both of them were just pitch and catch. Josh Williams absolutely getting beat. We saw that one coming. I'm not mad at Spags about it like a lot of people are. Everyone's already at Spags' throat after this game. But I mean, you held probably the second ranked offense in the league, you know, to 24 points. We should have won the game.
Yeah, I think it's hit or miss with of how you want to go at it with Spags. Like I can see both sides of the argument. We know coming in that's why I predicted the Bills to win today, and it's exactly why they did. I believe our defense was a little too banged up. Add in the Willie Gay suspension, you had some problems there, and the Bills did exploit it when they had a chance. Josh Williams looked good in training camp. He looked good in his rookie OTAs and all that. But then it come out and he's got like leaped by Jalen Watson. And now today he had to get out there and man-to-man cover, Gabe Davis. He had to man-to-man, Stephon Diggs. That's hard to do. Now I will fault him a little bit for not having some help for him over the top on those touchdown plays. That's a little absurd. We said that you cannot have those safeties in the box a lot and leave those corners out on an island. And Spags did that a few times. And when he did, Josh Allen completely busted it. He killed
Right.
us. So
Well, I mean, he had to
Yeah.
try to get some pressure on Josh Allen. And the defensive line, they weren't terrible. People's giving them a hard time too. Frank Clark was winning his matchup all night. Chris Jones won a lot of matchups. There was a lot of holding that was not getting called. So what can you do? You have to blitz to get back there and put some pressure on Allen, which they had consistent pressure on him the whole game. But there were just certain times where, like you said, you cannot bring them safeties in that box. You cannot blitz a safety because I mean that's what cost us, a good 14 points.
Yeah, I would say overall for the defensive line today, they did not bring enough pressure that they needed to. I would say, they probably got like a C grade at best. I don't think they got back there and created enough. I do know Frank Clark was in a lot of his matchups. They were getting a lot of holds. I think there was a complete play where they just ripped the jersey right in front of the official, and the official was watching it and they didn't even call it. That was in that last touchdown drive, I believe. We
Right.
knew they wasn't going to call it. You can't put it in the hands of the officiating. We seen that weird call with Kelsey pushing off,
That
quote
was a
unquote. That
that
wasn't
was
even
probably the game
close.
changer right there.
Yeah,
Because I
that
think on that drive with that momentum, that was a touchdown drive that would have made it to where Buffalo could only tie the game unless they went for two. But instead, you got what you got.
yeah, so I mean, I think the defense had to do better. So I thought George Karlaftis disappointed a little bit today. I mean, I seen him over the field, like chasing people and trying to put some pressure on, but he's just not getting home. He didn't really do the trick. Darius Harris played well today. I thought Nick Bowden played well, but our guys up front didn't look too good. Colin Saunders had a few decent plays. Chris Jones was held in check for most of the day. Let's be honest. He got away with a tripping penalty. At first, I didn't think so,
The
but
hold
I think the more
anyway.
I see it,
Oh no,
yeah, but the more I see
I
it,
actually I applaud him for it because he was getting blatantly held. He couldn't even do anything with his arms because he's getting held so bad. So what do you do to show that? If you're not going to call it, I'm going to trip this guy with my feet because that's all I can do. So either make the call or make that call and look like an idiot. So I'm glad he did it.
okay, so our last little key to the victory was to try to get Sky more involved. And it looked like right out of the gate, Andy had watched this previous episode and was gonna do that. There was an uncatchable ball, I think, right there at the beginning, and it kind of like went over his head a little. But they did get Sky more the ball. He made a few plays right off the rip, and then they went away from him. Never went back to him again. It's kind of weird that they actually did use Juju in the proper way that we said that, hey, they need to get Juju the ball and let him try to get some yak yards. That's what he's good at. He did that. They were trying to do that with Sky Moore, as we said. But then it seems like after the first couple drives, when this was overly working, we went away from it and went back to the same old stuff. And Mahomes went to carrying the ball in the pocket for 5 seconds and not getting down. I know everybody's going to come at this offensive line. I get it. That is a tough defensive line to handle. There were some bad plays, there were some good plays. I'm going to dig in and watch it. But to be honest, you cannot look at Mahomes today and be like, no, Mahomes got rid of the ball. Mahomes was taking what they were giving him. He wasn't. He was holding the ball way too long. He was trying to force too much down the field. You just can't let plays develop. And if the plays are designed to do that, then that's just bad play calling
Yeah,
because
it's
you
on the
can't do
coaching.
that.
Right. I was actually talking to a guy on Twitter about that. He was like, "Oh, these offensive tackles are just not it," and yada yada. The same crap we've heard over and over again. Guys, I'm sorry. I don't care who your offensive tackles are. When you're facing elite pass rushers, you cannot hold the ball for more than 2.5 seconds. And you can't
No.
do it every play. And Mahomes just will not get rid of the ball in a decent amount of time. Like you said, if the plays are designed that way, that falls on the coaches. If they're not designed that way, it falls on your quarterback. He's got to get rid of the ball. He cannot create more pressure by running out of clean pockets. He tends to do these things, and he's looked worse at it this year than he has in the past. So I'm hoping this is just a little weird phase he's going through, but he's got to make decisions faster and he's got to get rid of the ball faster. And he definitely can't wait for open receivers to be covered so he can throw an interception because that last play was just absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, I feel like we've got things there, but I feel like with Mahomes, I feel like he don't want to do 8 yards at a time. Sometimes he don't want to do 15 yards. He'd rather wait to see if the 30-yard play opens up. You just can't do that. You cannot do it. You had plenty of time at the end. You had a timeout. You maybe had two timeouts in your pocket there with that minute to go.
I believe it was first down as well. Like,
Yeah,
so why even throw it?
I mean, you have to do something. Mahomes just held the ball too long. I think this was a bad game all around for Mahomes. If you look at his numbers, he showed pretty well today. Him and Josh Allen, neither one of them was like world beaters today. But I will say, Josh Allen, he did it when it counted. He used his feet when it counted. He didn't throw any interceptions. I think Josh Allen got him today. And I mean, that was the difference. I think Buffalo's defense compared to our defense, and Josh Allen just outplayed us today. And yeah, the world's not ending though, people. Like, we played them very close, and you see how banged up we were and how shorthanded. And to be honest, we were probably the better team for the majority of that game, and we just fell a little short. It's okay. It's week 6. So we'll live.
All right, guys, we're going to take a more in-depth look at this, whether it be the offensive line, some key calls, and things like that. And we will be back on Tuesday and Wednesday with videos for those. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and hitting the bell, and we will catch you next time.
See you guys. Heads up. It's not that bad.
There goes a sight from my soul.